My name is Ryan Henson Creighton, and I'm the president and founder of Untold Entertainment, Inc. We're a small boutique game development studio in downtown Toronto, specializing in games and apps for kids, teens, tweens, and preschoolers. And when we're not doing service work, we're trying to put our efforts into our own original games. So it's really difficult to do what we're doing. I mean, the dream is to turn a service-based company into a product-based company, so it's slow going. It's not going as quickly as we'd like to go. So many of the games that we have on the site now are games that we produced in game jams. So those are just like weekend-long things where you go and you slog and you spend 40 hours fueled by Fritos and Pepsi trying to make a game. So most of the games on our site are of that ilk, but we're currently developing two games that are, longer form, and we've spent a lot of time on them. One is called Putty Crime, on the Tale of the Foxy Badger, which is a game that we've done that takes place in fake England, and it's modeled in clay, which is the unique thing. It's a puzzle game for mobile modeled in clay. And then the other game that we're working on is called Spelerium, which is a word puzzle adventure game mashup. So you walk around and you talk to characters and pick up items, but whenever you go to solve a puzzle, instead of using an object, you spell words. And we leverage this interesting word puzzle game mechanic against cooler puzzles on top of that. It's a thinking gamer's game. But what we're known for is Sissy's Magical Ponycorn Adventure, which is a game that I made with my 5-year-old daughter Cassandra at a game jam, and that's made her the world's youngest commercial game developer. It went crazy. It went viral worldwide, and we're featured in newspapers as far away as Japan, and it was a real experience. It's still ongoing. We're working on a Japanese translation, and we're going to do an iPhone version. So it really touched people, I think, in interesting and amazing ways. So we're really, really proud of that game. I was really nervous about working with Cassie because she was only 5 at the time, and if you don't have nieces or nephews or kids who are that age, you kind of tend to forget what a 5-year-old can and can't do. So I thought that we'd have her do an hour of just doing some coloring, and then she'd be done. She'd be bouncing off the walls and running around and screaming, and I'd have to take her home, and I'd do what I could with the artwork that I had, and most of it would be me. But something really amazing happened. She was really happy to be spending time with her dad, and she put in, at age 5, she put in 6 hours of work, and then I took her home, and she did another hour doing the voiceover for the game, and she actually did all of the character design for the game. She did all of the artwork except for 2 small pieces, some mouth charts and a little pulsy blue ring, and she collaborated on puzzle design, and she voiced over the whole main character. So a few people are quick to point out, oh, well, she just drew a couple pictures and Dad did all the work. But I see the game as a real, true collaboration. We just had a ton of fun making it together with no expectations of it turning into what it did. A lot of people are asking whether we're going to do like a Ponycorn sequel. But my feeling is that there's only so much of my kids' fridge art that people will be able to stomach, and I think I'd be pushing it a little bit for a sequel. But what I'd really like to do is a site called gamesbykids.com, and the whole deal with that is we had such a wonderful experience working together, and I really believe that small children should be taught computer programming as early as possible. It's a fantastic idea, and it's great for bonding. So this Games by Kids site that we're working on is going to be a place where parents can go, and even if they're not technically savvy, and they can download kits, which are essentially little projects they can do on a Saturday afternoon with their kid, and it'll be laid out according to what dad or mom is supposed to do, and then steps that the little kid can do, and little things about math or painting or things about the world that you can teach your child while you're working together to create a little project. So I'm really, really excited about that game. Site. I'm used to working on games. I call everything a game. It's a site. It's going to be great. I worked at a children's broadcaster for 7 years, and we were making games, some that supported their shows and some that were advert games. So they'd have a client like Kellogg's or Cheese Strings come and purchase a game as a bundle with their ad buy, their on-air ad buy. So I did a lot of games that sold sugar cereals to kids and sold toys to kids, and it's a little bit uncomfortable now that I see what kind of effect advertising has on little kids. As soon as they see a commercial, they immediately want the product. So it has just because their brains aren't formed. It's a tricky area. So I left, not because of that. It was a great job. I had a good time. But I left after 7.5 years to found Untold Entertainment. And a lot of the people that I knew through my whole tenure working at the broadcaster had moved off to other companies. So that meant that I had this huge network of people who worked with television producers and television broadcasters, and they were able to hire me to do more work, more show-based work. So they'll get funding to do a website and a bunch of games for their TV show, and I'll build the game for those TV shows. So Untold Entertainment stands on 5 principles, and I hope that under pressure I'm going to be able to remember them. The first is uncompromising honesty. We're a service company, so we will never tell you that everything's going swimmingly when maybe it's not, or we won't tell you that, oh, this is really going to cost you a lot when, you know, it won't. So we're unfailingly honest with our clients, or we try to be. Constant communication, so you'll always receive emails back from us, calls back from us. We're very accessible, and we're not going to lock you out or shut you out. And then the bottom 3 are a little bit more philosophical. So one is belief in the sanctity of childhood. We really stand on the principle that childhood is a really special time, and we shouldn't squander it, and we should treat it as a separate, like a special time apart and separate from adulthood. We believe in nonviolence in gaming, barring the presence of zombies, because zombies got to die. But if they're not zombies, then okay, we'll leave them alone. And the last one is the belief in using games to improve rather than to degrade the human condition. We're struggling to produce Spelerium with no funding. We're an entirely bootstrapped company, except for we received some funding to go down to conferences like GDC, and we received funding from the Ontario government towards Spelerium, which we're really grateful to have. But funding is set up so that, you know, they have their own targets to hit and their own dates to meet, and those don't always mesh nicely with, you know, how long it takes to build a game and how much time and effort and blood and sweat you have to put into it. So we're sort of kind of working through a bit of a disconnect there. But we have this vision for Spelerium, and it has to be a certain kind of game at a certain kind of scope, and we're really going to champion that cause and stick to that vision no matter what it takes. The biggest challenge in getting Spelerium to the point that it needs to be at is definitely going to be the funding. I mean, what we're trying to do is take service work, and then whatever margin we make on those products, we're able to sink back into original game development. But, you know, we're really at the whim of sort of a volatile industry that's really heavily reliant on government funding. So it's up or down, and depending on who's in power, they approve or deny certain funding structures, and that means that our clients don't receive the money they need to work on their projects, and it doesn't trickle down to us. So the biggest barrier is definitely going to be funding. We've had a lot of wonderful support in marketing and from the press and from fans, so that I'm less worried about, and just funding development is what keeps me up at night. Oh, Toronto's amazing. I mean, not to knock Montreal. Montreal here is fantastic too. And so is Vancouver. I don't want to put anyone down. But Toronto, the unique thing about Toronto is that we have this really world famous now, thriving, burgeoning indie game development scene. So an indie is an independent, they're a bit different than independents. They're independents with style. They're usually a lot of you know, small companies, the prototypical 3 guys in a garage kind of thing. But we have a number of cultural groups that get together and meet and talk about the business of gaming and the art of gaming, and there's a real, I think Ontario employs more video game personnel than you know, the rest of Canada, and those personnel are spread out across more companies than throughout the rest of Canada. So we have a lot of companies and a lot of little companies. I think that's what's really special about Toronto. The future for video games, everybody will be wearing foil hats, and they will holographically project our souls. Future of video games. You know, hardware is going to get faster, graphics are going to get better, people are going to be nickel and dimed more, so the monetization models are going to be more, man, if people can find a way to take your money, they'll find it, right? So they'll get savvier. I really see, they've been predicting this for a while, but I really see it going the way of movies, where eventually, after all this shake-up settles down, there will be a big studio system. We're kind of already settling into that with Activision and you know, the others. Slipped my mind now for some bizarre reason, but it'll turn into like a Lionsgate Cinema and a Amblin Entertainment or you know, DreamWorks SKG or whatever, and the really interesting, groundbreaking, unique, novel stuff will continue to come from small indie companies. So those are the guys you really want to watch.
Okay.